Good evening. At this time, we would call to order the December 21st, 2015 meeting of the Yukon City Council to order, and note that this is a special meeting. At this time, call the roll, please.
Alberts.
Here.
Russell.
Here.
McCarran. Smystra.
Here.
Yonda.
Here.
We have one item this evening. That's number one, consider approving an expenditure of funds in an amount not to exceed $1,375,000 for the City of Yukon, Oklahoma Water and Sewer System Improvement Project, consisting of 1 million gallon water tank and 12-inch water line along Highway 66, Frisco Road, Vandeman Avenue, and Ranchwood Addition sanitary sewer pipe bursting, to be paid for from the General Reserve Fund as recommended by the city engineer. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Ladies? Discussion? Discussion?
So we're bringing this in from our general reserve fund, then we're gonna use those. Somebody wanna talk to me about that, please?
Yes, sir. We have to pay the deposit on to the Corps by the end of this year.
So that's by the 31st then of this month?
Yes, sir. We are taking this out of the reserve fund, otherwise known as a rainy day fund.
Okay. Is there a reason specifically we're taking it out of rainy day? Yes.
J.I., would you come up and answer that question, please?
Good evening. I would say the reason is simply a cash flow situation, that we need to take the money out of the reserve fund to make the payment. The requirements would be that we would pay that back into the reserve fund, but it would require an amount of time to do it.
Okay, we didn't previously have this set aside. I know it's been it's been in motion for the last, 7 years? I think since 2008 when we started it, but I was
The funds were actually set aside at one point, and the funds were bond funds, and they were utilized on other capital projects, specifically since July 1st, which depleted the amount that had been set aside. And now we're at the point where we need to actually make the payment. The Corps required us, or has really put us off on making the payment. The payment was going to be made in August, and then it got pushed back to October, and it's been pushed back every couple of months for another couple of months. And during that time, the capital funds, the bond funds that had been set aside were utilized. And so now we're at the point where we're going to have to make the fund, and those bond funds no longer exist.
So it was available for this in July, but it was used somewhere else?
It was used on other capital projects, yes.
but it hasn't been used for anything other than capital projects, is that correct?
Now, I provided a list to the city attorney of the capital expenditures that basically where the funds were utilized.
Okay, because I know we've known this has been coming for some time,
Yes, sir.
and so I'm curious why, any particular reason, or we just had the other capital funds come up?
The other expenditures came up, and it was a cash flow situation, I would say.
That's all for me, Mayor.
Anything else?
Nothing.
Ladies? So at this time, there's a cash flow issue. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to make the payment if we don't delve into this rainy day fund.
I would say that's yes. Exactly correct.
So then has a cash flow problem existed for a while? Is that why we had to use the bond money?
You may recall, we had a extremely large claims list in October, that was over $1 million. I want to say it was 1.2 million, which is very large for Yukon. Typically, our claims list on any given council night runs somewhere between 400,000 and 500,000, maybe a little bit more. And we've had some very large expenditure lists the last few council meetings, really beginning with that one in October. And so, yeah, it's created a cash flow situation for us.
Are these unbudgeted items that we didn't expect?
No, I wouldn't say that they're unbudgeted because departments are only allowed to spend what they have budget availability for.
So then I guess, does that mean our collection behind?
We looked at that the other day, and our revenues are a little bit behind budget. Our sales tax is greater. We've shown increases in sales tax when it's compared to the prior year or prior periods, but our revenues as a whole at the end of December, I think, are not going to quite be 50% of our budgeted revenue. We're going to be just a little bit below that. And December, it does mark the 50% 50% point of the year, of our fiscal year.
So the collection, although they're up, are they not as high as what we had budgeted for?
They're not quite making budget on the revenue side. That's correct.
Okay, questions? Questions?
Do you anticipate, I guess I'm gonna ask the loaded question, anticipate that the revenue collections through the Christmas, obviously we do better in February and March, so do you anticipate that we're gonna be able to repatriate those funds prior to our next budget cycle, which is, what, June the 1st? I believe that's right.
This is just an educated guess on my part, but I don't believe that we would be at the point where we'll be able to pay back the rainy day fund before the end of the fiscal year. This will be a process that will take probably more than a year. Now, I should note that the item that's before you was written such that it's going not to exceed the 1.375 million.
Mm-hmm.
I will only use out of the general fund reserve the amount that is required in order for the core to be paid, the deposit to be paid on the water tower, and for us to maintain all of our accounts at the banks.
Okay, have we let the contracts on that? We have not let the contracts on them yet, have we?
That's a project I think that's handled by the Corps of Engineers, so
Yeah.
I don't know that.
No, sir, the project has not been bid yet. We're at the, we've submitted 95% plans. They're doing their last review. Actually, the way it works, we've submitted the same 95% plans a month ago. They were reviewed at the Tulsa Corps of Engineers, and we made their corrections. And now they completed another third-party review with their Corps office in Tennessee, and we're receiving their comments that we will address, and then we'll move forward with bidding. The last thing is we have property that we need for the project, and about a month ago the Corps approved our land and for us to get the appraisal, and so that is currently being done right now. So.
And Robbie, this is a project that requires the city to have some matching money. Is it 25%?
Yes.
That's the million.
This project goes back a long time. Yukon tried to get federal money back in 1998, and through the years, it's in 2008 we had the money. Congress appropriated it, gave it to the Corps. Funds went away, and then the Corps got the funds back about 2 years ago, And so we updated the environmental study, and we have progressed to the point where we are today.
Do you know how much our 25% matching money is? What amount is due by the end
If
of
you
the
look at the memo I gave you,
Yeah, I apologize, I didn't
the,
look at it, but I don't have it with me.
the project budget is $5,500,000. From that, $4,125,000 is from the Corps of Engineers, and $1,375,000 is from the city of Yukon.
Okay, the reason I ask is because J.I. said that he wouldn't use any more than he would need to use. Is our 1.375 million due now?
That's correct.
Okay. So although it says that, you fully expect to write a check or make the transfer of those funds?
Yes, we'll pay the full $1,375,000. I guess the point I'm trying to make is that if we have availability in other operating funds, that if I don't have to draw the entire 1.375 million out of the reserve, I won't.
Okay. And if there's availability in other funds, will that take any action on behalf of the council?
I don't believe that it would.
Okay. By doing that, would that put us in a bad spot regarding our day-to-day operations?
No, actually, we'll be allowing day-to-day operations to continue as is.
Okay. So then any other money, any other accounts that you would draw off of, that's what accounts? I guess that might clarify what you mean by other accounts.
Well, I'm talking primarily about our operating account.
Okay.
The city has a large operating account where most of our expenditures come from. That's the account that, if there's any availability, would supplement what we pull out of the general fund reserve.
Yes, sir. Okay. Any other questions? Questions?
So you,
Anything?
yeah, I do have one short, just so you're anticipating right now that it's going to actually last almost a year before we can clear everything back up again and restore us.
Or it could very well be over a year.
Okay, but you're anticipating at least a year at this time.
I would say at least a year.
Okay. Thank you, that's what I want to know.
Now that gives me, and I apologize, as far as using the rainy day fund, is there a process that we're supposed to follow as far as, are we required to repay the rainy day fund?
Yes, we're required to maintain 25% of the city's total budget in reserve.
Okay.
If we use the reserve and fall below that number, we have to restore it.
Okay. But
That's what I'm talking about with Mr. McCarron about. It's going to take at least a year to restore it.
But we're not actually paying that back. When you say restore it, that's from the revenues that will be derived from the sales tax?
Yes, we'll restore it out of other funds back into the general fund reserve. We'll basically pay our rainy day fund back,
Okay.
Through sales tax.
or whatever other operating revenues that we have available to us
It's not utilized.
that's not otherwise utilized.
Okay, because the rainy day fund, as I understand it, it's set up, it's created every year. It generates a certain amount of sales tax is generated, and that fills the rainy day fund until it gets to the required amount.
And during the time that I've been here, we've been over the required amount. So what it has really amounted to is an accounting entry where the amount is transferred out of sales tax into the general fund reserve, and then because we're over, it comes back to the general fund.
Okay. And I guess my clarification is no department is going to suffer because we vote on this tonight. Is that right?
I would say that's right. In fact, without this action by the council, day-to-day operations would be hampered if you decided not to do it.
Okay.
What is our current balance, I guess, in the rainy day fund? Do you know, or just, where are we there?
I don't have that information.
I would be curious to know, you know, if you could provide that to us later, I would appreciate it, just to know where we stand, if we're taking that, and how much, you know, how much we're gonna take it down.
I can get that,
Would
yes.
you? Thank you.
But it's in compliance with the
Yeah.
ordinance
Yeah,
that we,
we've been in compliance,
Right.
well, during the entire tenure of my service here.
Yes, sir.
And well before that, so.
But we're gonna be under now, so what does that do to us? Anything?
That means we have to restore it, we have to pay it back.
Right, we're building back up.
And we would not be able to use any more of those funds without approval by this group, so.
Thank you, J.I., from my part.
other questions?
Mayor? No, I'm good, thanks.
Questions? Call the roll, please.
Smystrela,
Yes.
Alberts,
Yes.
Yonda,
Yes.
McCarron,
Yes,
Russell.
Yes.
Jai, thank you very much for your information. That was very helpful to us, and we don't mean to put you on the spot, but it's important. We want to make sure that we understand, and I didn't say that, and I publicly want to tell you thank you very much. We appreciate that very much. Item 2 is adjournment, so with no other business before the council, we stand adjourned.